the drumming on this track is so good because it's not at not one point does he do the massive caveman fill or anything like that. It's really subtle. He goes into triplets at one point and does other stuff, and but really, really well done.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to another Friday installment of the Audiophiles. I'm Andy. That is John. And as I mentioned, power to the people, John. As I mentioned, it is a Friday episode, which means it's an episode devoted to a track or a shout out one of y'all gave us in one of our previous episodes. Today's shout out track will be from Fish Pain Charters, who offered up another title fight track. So I've offered you a couple of those in the past. This will be our third, which means I will create a playlist that will be added to the description field down below for your ease of access should you want to go back and check out some of those. But John, obviously, since I'm the resident title fight fan here, you're going to be the one to go off and give this thing a spin. So we're going to be checking out a track by them called Lefty, which also happens to appear on Floral Green. And it was offered up on our Dizzy episode, which is the first song by them that we've done on the channel. The track that we did, Head in the Ceiling Fan, was off of Floral Green. So you'll be revisiting that just, what, maybe 6 weeks ish removed from having checked out Head in the Ceiling Fan. So are you prepared to go check out some more title fight, John?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that's music to my ears and probably Fish Pain Charters as well, and any other random title fight fan who stumbled across this video. So please go off, check it out, and then come back and let us all know what you've made of it.
Will do. Okay, nice, interesting beginning. So you got this fairly sort of uh, chilled out almost uh, guitars, open sort of strums, and it starts picking away. But it's going over quite a busy-ish sort of drum beat, but it's kind of got like a jazzy feel to it. It's really nice, yeah. So I wouldn't say the guitars are lethargic, but maybe a little. But they've got this very sort of relaxed, like someone's waking up from a mid-afternoon kip. Um, and then it pauses after the 15 or so seconds. You get a little bit of tippy tappy, bit of anticipation, and then it comes back in, and there's this pulsing, squalling sound accompanying it, which obviously just changes the mood completely. Um, it is a sound which I've heard quite often before, and it has a bit of a nostalgia to it because it kind of sounds like an early 90s, yeah, late 80s, early 90s sort of noise that was used. I know on the previous songs that I've heard from these guys, there was quite a bit of shoegazy type of influence. The first one, Dizzy, sounded very British shoegaze 90s, which is a good thing. So yeah, it's got, and then we get another pause again, um, with that sort of pulsing, resonating sound, almost like an alarm going off. And of course, what it's doing is it's raising your anticipation for what's to come. And then on Crash comes band back with the singer. All good stuff. It's, yeah. I like this sort of tension.
Sharp as a knife inside your stomach. I'm squeezing tight, don't let the light in. No medicine.
It's not too much, but yeah, I liked when the singer came in and he's got a nice sound to his voice. And there was a sort of nice cadence to it, and it's quite rhythmic. So he came in, I think it was Bad Something Never Leaves. I'm guessing it's Bad Luck. He's emphasizing the first word as it comes in on that crash, and then it's Never Leaves. And I think the Jinx just floats around, I think it was, and his emphasis there, and like the taste inside your, I think it must be mouth. The sound when you're and what he's kind of doing is throwing away the last words of the lines, which sounds nice, but it's just hard to discern from my ears what he's actually saying. So I guess that mouth bit, but I just like the rhythm of it. It's really nice. And again, did the second verse, and then as he went into this sort of quieter guitar noodling away, and it was like picking a note and sort of bending it at the end of each line, giving it a sort of emphasis and stress on that last bit, which was really nice. And there was some images about the knife and stomach and blood red. It's all good stuff. But what it sounds like is, even though they've gone sort of quite chilled here singing, it does sound like the anxiety levels have been raised. And they said the last bit was no medicine, and then they crash and it comes back again with that alarm, that pulsing sound, resonating that alarm, again, bringing up these sort of anxious stress levels. Really nicely done. Loud, quiet. Really liking the drum. Drums here really nice as well, without being too much. Oh, I like that pulsing bit coming back again, and that being the thing that taking us out to the end. Yeah, as I was listening to the sort of the final verses, I was struggling with the words. I really liked the rhythm of how he was singing, and with the guitars as well. It was kind of bouncing in parallel. Um, this sort of push pull effect. It's really nice. Yeah, overall, not really sure what they were singing about. I just got this sense of like anxiety levels raising. It'd be really cool to find out what it was, but the overall texture of the song, I would say this was interesting in terms of it was a bit more American sounding than the previous things I've heard from them. It's almost of that sort of nice, distorted, fuzzy, pre-popular grunge without being too grungy. Yeah, but it just had a really nice texture to it. And of course, loud, quiet, etc., etc. Um, it's always good. So yeah, I thought the drumming was excellent in this as well, without no caveman fills or anything. There's some bits where he went a bit sort of cymbal splashy, but really kept this sort of shuffling, jazzy style, which was really nice to hear. Actually, really good. Yeah, all good. Enjoyed that. So let's go back to Andy and find out some more.
All right, John, you are back from checking out Lefty. You are a southpaw, actually. Now that I mentioned, aren't you also a lefty? How about it? So, what did you make of this track, Lefty, John?
Yeah, interesting. So track starts with this very relaxed sort of guitar spraying chords and then notes over the top of this moderately sort of bustling drum beat. It has a shuffling quality that's almost jazzy. The plodding bass notes sort of kind of add to the semi-lethargic vibe. So the opening impression of the first 15 seconds or so is this is a very easygoing scene with no urgency, like someone waking from a afternoon snooze after a carb-heavy lunch. We pause for a few anticipatory seconds of tippy tappy on the metalwork before launching back into the same sort of setup again. However, now it feels different. Could it be that pulsating sound photo bombing the track? The audio equivalent of a blinking fluorescent strip light. It's this resonating, pulsing, I don't know some sort of phasing, effect on the guitar that's doing that stuff. It so happens that I have enjoyed this particular strain of noise many times before. And it kind of lends a certain air of nostalgia for me to the track, reminding me of early 90s music, as well as a dab of anxiety as well. That's a sort of sound. So after another 15 seconds or so, we get another weighty pause, filled this time with that resonating sound that's pulsing through, and which I imagine to be what a giant moth's alarm clock sounds like. Of course, what it does do is it stretches out the anticipation of what's about to come next. It's almost like this through line that becomes tighter and more taut. As this is not my first rodeo, I'm not disappointed when in comes the vocals riding on a wave of the band crashing in, rejoining the song. The drums instantly, I notice, are fuller and sort of more fervent, and they're pushing the song along in tandem with the bass. Because the main distorted guitar is a lot more choppy and almost rhythmic in its strum patterns. It's really pleasant. I'm liking the delivery of the vocals. It's interesting, his sort of cadence and emphasis as well fits really well. So the first few lines he sings, and I'll explain it in a sec, but bad never leaves, the jinx just floats like the taste inside the sound when you're anyway. What he sings here is he gives emphasis, so he comes in with bad. I think it's luck he sings afterwards, and then he emphasizes never and then leaves. The jinx just floats, and I'm not sure about the last word. Like the taste inside I think that's mouth. the sound when you're so he kind of throws away the last word of each line. And I'm not sort of being critical here. It's like a style thing. And it sounds the sounds of the words, it sounds really nice the way he does it. And when he's emphasizing stuff, and I sort of pick this up later in the song, but it kind of fits with the way the guitar is sort of doing this push-pull thing with the strum patterns. The two of them work really well together. It's really nice. So it just means I struggle to hear what the last word of each line is. But I mean, that's a lot better than I normally do anyway.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that he has this, that he gives this wailing, these emphasis. So it's almost like this up and down or push pull sort of thing going on. So there's a little bit of grunge influence in this as well. It's enough just to make the edges rough without going too far, so it doesn't sound contrived. In fact, when I say grunge, it's almost that sort of like before grunge hits the main headlines. It's that wavy bit in between sort of grunge and this alternative rock, the sort of dissonance out of Sonic Youth or something like that, mixed in with a bit of fuzz as well. So it's not Nirvana-esque or any of those after that, but it's just got bits to it from that particular period. The previous two tracks you had me listen to had more of a shoegaze feel to them. And interestingly, the first one, Dizzy, was really strongly British sounding shoegaze, that sort of early British shoegaze sound. The second one was a bit more expansive, and you could argue a more modern sounding shoegaze. And this track is the most American sounding. And I know they are an American band, sure they are, yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And it's really interesting how this is the most American sound of the three that I've heard.
Yeah.
So as the last line for the second part of this verse drops, stretch me out across the whatever the last word is. He's just gone with like a frisbee, sailing over the hedges and far into somebody else's garden, and we traipse into this ponderous zone, which is the least popular section of the Crystal Maze. The traditional gently noodled guitar accompanies some soft, I think it's grouped vocals. It might be him double tracked or whatever, but it's quite soft and sounds nice. And you can almost picture in the video the guitarist would be sitting on a large sort of bay window with his leg up against one wall and just picking these notes. But as he does, I'm struck the fact that this song is doing the old loud, quiet, loud. It will never catch on. He sings something about while you were sleeping, I was blood. And I'm not quite sure of that last word, because as the noodling guitar picks it through, it does this lovely bit at the end. It stresses at the end of each line with this sort of stronger and slightly bent note coming in. Really nice, but it's right over him saying that. So I think it's red, but I don't know. Sharp as a knife inside your stomach. And there was something about squeezing and let light in. And then it finishes with no medicine. That sort of stressing that note at the end of each line. Again, it's a really nice sort of finish, but it also, I think, adds a level of anxiety again to the sort of the churn of the words. So back come the big guns, crashing in on the sin of no medicine, which is perfect technique. And again, it sounds really open and jazzy to me. If you change the effect pedals on the guitar to something else, there's a band called the Cake and Sea, which is kind of like a modern indie band with jazz influences. It wouldn't be that far away from this, and the thing that drives that band is the drumming. And I think here as well, it's the same thing. It's this really nice. The drumming on this track is so good because it's not at not one point does he do a massive caveman fill or anything like that. It's really subtle. He goes into triplets at one point and does other stuff, but really, really well done. So yeah, our pulsating, resonating friend rejoins as well, and it does sound right this time like it's almost like an alarm or a distress warning. It kind of reminding me of the people who walk around all day wearing that heart monitor or blood pressure monitor thing, and then it pings off when they get too anxious. And it was kind of like that point of the song. Back to the vocals, we get another verse. It's all repeating the framework from before, but on my notes here, I really like the rhythmic push-pull of the guitar bouncing in parallel with the cadence of the singer. The verse ends with the drums picking up here. And again, it's more a busy manner rather than a smack the shit out of the guitar manner. But it does this sort of like almost, those, oh, what's it called? They'll come to me. The horses performing the dancing. It's like they go from a canter to
Oh,
a gallop. Yeah.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. That's not dressage, but what is that? When
Yes, it is. It's
it is
dressage.
dressage?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fucking idiot. But yeah, it's like that, the way the pace changed in it. There
Yep.
are some cymbals smacked, but again, it's not, massively earthquakey. There's some huge guitar chords as well going on. I think we get a repeat of that while you were sleeping, those lines again. And that because I recognize a few words here and there, and that note stress at the end. And again, the same thing happens at the end. The no medicine becomes the symbol to let rip. And the band do just that. More metal work again, splashed around. More huge guitar chords again that are sort of thrummed, and our sonic pulsar is spinning and radiating, and it resonates all the way through to the song to the end as we get sort of a couple more fading lines. And I do hear no medicine again at one point, I'm sure. And the guitar slowly fades out, and the drums sort of quieten down, and then that pulse just goes off into the ether. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. On first listen, I wasn't quite sure what the hell was going on, so I could only get because music is a language as well as the lyrics, and
Yeah.
for what I could get, I really like the texture of this song. And all I know, I'd love to know what's going on lyrically, but what I caught, I thought was a sense of this sort of anxiety and a bit of turmoil in terms of questioning something. But yeah, I really liked it.
Awesome, man. I'm really glad you did. I'm sure Fishpain Charters is happy that you did as well. Yeah, that's great. Great stuff. Yeah, I have to admit, um, I knew that someone based off recollection as I was trying to come up with some like future, tracks for you to check out and wanting to revisit Title Fight when I decided to give you a Head in the Ceiling fan. I was like, man, I'd really love to give him something all floral green, but I feel like somebody already put something in the suggested tracks that we had yet to assign each other yet. And I went in there and looked at it and was like, ah, shit. And to be fair, I like Head in the Ceiling fan better, but I think this is a more accessible song because you have to really like shoegaze and be okay with the sort of the more plodding movements of a Head in the Ceiling fan than a track like this. I think this is more accessible, and of course, it was on offer by Fishpain Charter, so I went with Head in the Ceiling fan for obvious reasons. But I'm really glad that we got around to this because it's another one that I would have inevitably
Yeah.
thrown your way had it not been suggested. So yeah, stellar stuff. I'm really glad you liked it. Title Fight is they're a really good band, and as I mentioned to you before, this album is kind of like a love letter to music, to rock music that and the subgenres that occupied the era of I would say like 1987 to like 1993. Like somewhere this window of and all the different like what was going on with rock, what was being pushed out like shoegaze and sort of the beginning of like melodic or post hardcore and this weird alternative and the gray area between it and grunge. All of that stuff was very popular, and I think that the guys, which is really great for them, these young dudes who grew up well after that, went back and sought that stuff out, listened to it, fell in love with it, and in a not ham-handed or misplaced way, tried to pay homage to it 30 years later. And I think they did so pretty successfully on this album. That's what a lot of people have come to say about it. So, and I think I had mentioned that to you when we did Head in the Ceiling fan as well. So, as I mentioned before, we've covered, Head in the Ceiling fan, Dizzy before. Feel free to go check out those episodes. I'll try to endeavor not to repeat a lot of the same material I said during those reviews, especially Head in the Ceiling fan, for it also, as I mentioned, features on their sophomore album, Floral Green. The band's lineup on that album consisted of Jamie Roden, guitar and vocals, Ned Russin, bass and vocals, Shane Moran on guitar, and Ned's brother Ben Russin on drums, so Brother in Blood and Brothers in Rhythm. It was recorded with producer Will Yip at Studio 4 in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Uh, for the album, they cited influences including Dinosaur Jr., Nirvana, Fugazi, Sonic Youth, and Sebadoh, as well as their contemporaries in Balance and Composure, Make Do and Mend, and Touche Amore. The album's sound has been described as melodic hardcore, shoegaze, emo, post hardcore, post rock, soft grunge, and art rock. It peaked at number 69 on the Billboard Top 200. The album was included in the Wasters' Top Albums of 2012 list and was later named the 29th best album of the 2010s by Chorus FM. Over at Metacritic, the album sits at an aggregate score of 84 out of 100. Becky Stanley of More Than the Music reviewed the album, writing, Lefty is a variation from what people expect of Title Fight, a slow and soothing song ready to lull you slowly into the end of the album with a progression of guitars, synth, and then jolting you out of your comfort zone with shouts, yet continually soothing guitar twangs here and there, making this a relatively slow and ambient song, for Title Fight at least. And of the album, she noted, I wasn't entirely sure how Title Fight would follow up an album like Shed, which highlighted them to the general public, but they delivered with this brilliant slice of musical wonderment. Title Fight have come a long way since their humble beginnings, have vastly improved what they were already brilliant at, and have produced an album that many will surely be playing nonstop for a long while to come. At punknews.org, their staff wrote of the track, likely the pinnacle of Floral Green, Lefty is interchangeably coarse and delicate, heavily driven by Ben Russon's drumming, as you were quick to note, and a low-key vocal performance. And Felipe Garcia of Punks in Vegas awarded the album a perfect 10 out of 10 and offered up this in regards to Lefty and Floral Green. A large, important portion of Floral Green is pure punk, but a few melodic songs smooth over any rough edges. Lefty is a slow-moving, drowsy, bittersweet track with an irresistible tune. Adding, in my mind, Floral Green really does lack a weak spot. Not only is it an exercise in effortless progression by an incredible band, but it is proof that a band can stay true to form and not let marginal yet nationwide success get to their head. In terms of anticipation and undeniable expectations, Floral Green was worth the wait and is an essential record for any punk fan. So, these lyrics, John. Bad luck never leaves. Your jinx just floats around, like the taste inside your mouth, or the sound when your skull cracks. Feel the growing pains. It means you're growing up too fast, telling white lies to black cats. Stretch me out across the tracks. While you were sleeping, I was blood red, sharp as a knife inside your stomach. I'm squeezing tight. Don't let the light in. No medicine. Daydream tendencies had you smiling soft and sweet. Keep those blurry memories somewhere safe. You may need them. You can make a wish, but there's no rabbit out the hat. Realize it's never coming back. Realize it's never coming back. While you were sleeping, I was blood red, sharp as a knife inside your stomach. I'm squeezing tight. Don't let the light in. No medicine. Don't let the light in. No medicine. So yeah, the track stands out from the band's heavier hardcore roots, leaning into a more atmospheric, melodic grunge sound. Fans and critics often interpret the title Lefty as a metaphor for being socially different or an outsider, referencing the traditional historical stigma attached to being left-handed. John, you would know that better than I. The song grapples with the pains of growing up, moving on from your youth, the traumas accrued therein, and some of those who were integral parts of it all. So, there you have it, John. A little more title fight added to the channel, and I'm sure there will probably be some more in the future. I don't think we've done two. We featured tracks off two of their three big albums, so there'll probably be more in the works. Probably something off Shed in the future. But yeah, really glad that you gave this a go and that you liked it. I'm really glad that Fishpain Charters offered it up. So great shout, Fishpain. John, anything you want to say before I put a bow on this stuff, my friend?
No, it's interesting about the title Lefty. When I started writing again after I'd stopped when I left school and then started writing again to get myself back into the swing of it, I created a character called Lefty. And on the note about social sort of, isolation or my grandfather was left-handed and my grandmother and my mother and a couple of aunts and uncles. But he was of the time when he wasn't allowed to be left-handed. So he had his hand tied to his leg at school, so he couldn't use it, had to learn right-handed.
Yeah.
And the irony is his surname was Dexter, which is Latin for right. So if he had been Mr. Sinister, he maybe would have been allowed to be left-handed, because that's obviously the left. So the Latin for left is sinister. Yeah,
Yeah,
which is funny.
that
There you
is
go.
interesting. Well, thank you for that little crash course in Latin, John. I appreciate that. I'm sure others in the listening audience do as well. Fishpain Charters, which sounds like a badass name for a charting vessel to take you out fishing with a group of your buddies and a case of beer. And if that's what you do, I might look into that. That sounds like an excellent.
Or a really bad sort of catering firm.
Yeah, yeah, that too, that too. Thanks so much for offering this up, Fishpain. This is a great shout and a lot of fun to listen to. I'm really glad you liked it too, John. Guys out there in the listening audience, if you're thinking, well, how did Fishpain get this, on the channel? Feel free to drop any song suggestion on any of our previous videos, this one included. And as long as, both or at least one of us, forgive me, is not familiar with it, it will make the list to add for a future Friday episode. If you've got patience, we've got the time. We will eventually get to it. Also, please like, share, and or subscribe if you haven't done any or all of those things. Goes a long way to help us here. The channel only costs you a couple clicks, and we really do appreciate those who give us some love. And hopefully, John and I will catch all y'all in growing numbers on the next installment of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys.